Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us. Building castles in the sky. Just the two of us. You and I.
So hey, my peeps, this be Chicken Man here, and today we're back for the last bit of Season of 12 Colors, Message on the Paper Plane. Time of Jasmine. Jasmine 6-year-old. Oh? Okay, is it? Okay, there's the music. I was like, it's silent in here. My time is different from everyone else's. I came to know it when the time of departure came with my mother. She gave me the name, Jasmine. It was a wonderful name. I liked it. My father did too. Mom left when I was little. After that, Father devoted days and nights to the piles of books left behind. He was looking for something. Oh yeah, so I forgot to mention, like, do a proper intro. I'm so ready to get into it, but yeah, this game, I don't know what I would qualify it as, but it is certainly gripping. Very much gripping. I want to get to the bottom of this, and I think knowing what Jasmine knows, because Jasmine knows things, guys. I think this will be the final piece to the puzzle. Yet in the end, he found nothing to change our fate. I had known for a long time. Ever since my father started to spend more time with me, I had sensed it. After all, he had been too busy to take care of me for a long time. I learned how to read at an early age, but reading with someone else was something different. It was even more fun. How I wished Father would smile more. For the first time, those callous big hands reached for me, stroked my hair as though not accustomed to such gentleness. It tickled me a bit. Jasmine? His voice was tender and loving. He crouched down beside me. Father and everyone, we need to be away from Jasmine for a little while. You know, for work. But Jasmine is a bright and strong girl. You won't cry, will you? Of course, I was ready to keep myself company. Nothing could make me cry. How many days does Father need to be away for work? Father had his back to me. The look on his face I had no way to see. Besides, the ray of the setting sun dazzled my eyes. It might be quite long. Managing to get the words out, he stuttered. But it could be soon as well. If you take care of yourself, Dad will be back earlier. I promised I would behave and wait for him. You're a good girl, Jasmine. Father took me to the little house in which he collected his books. You may not be able to read them all, but it's all right. When Jasmine grows up, you will understand them. Okay, what's up with this, like, third person, though? And Dad and Mom will come back, right? I will try my best to grow up. When you're back, you will be surprised. Heh. Am I right, Dad? 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 That's fine. We had made a promise. I'll stay here and wait for everyone. I can do well, on my own. I can do well. Tears rolled down my face. I couldn't understand it. Father told me he would be back soon, as long as I behave, he told me. And I believed it, but for some reason, I knew deep inside, just like with Mother, he would not be back. I was a peculiar one. I was the one who took the arc that went against the flow. I learned all this after reading the collection of books my father left behind, and the stack of his journals. Jasmine's diary. Time is like running water. Unceasingly, it flows into the direction of the future. It never looks back. But in the river of time, there exist reversed whirlpools. Like floating threads, the lines touch each other and part away, forming movements of streams and waves. In extremely rare cases, relatively stable bubbles could form. The bubbles are wrapped up in the stillness of time. They are capable of containing small quantities of people or objects. People could even live there. And at one point, such a people had emerged who could live within the bubbles and go against the flow of time. They were the family of my mother. Nobody knows where they are from or what place or what time they will eventually go. They just float against the current in the whirlpools of time. That is all. Occasionally, the bubble would clash with the river of reality. They meet with ordinary people, fall in love, get married, and have children. The child at one point is bound to inherit the time of the mother. That is when the mother will be destined to pass away. Taking on their time, the child will live on and float into the past on an arc going against the current. In Father's journal, a story is told of a time travel and an ordinary man that fell in love and lived together. They had a child named Jasmine. That was a story of father and mother. And the child, just like her countless ancestors, rode on the arc of time. The journey continued. Now this is interesting. I was not expecting any of this. Chapter 7? You mean like the last chapter of the game? 9-year-old Jasmine. A fine day brimmed over with bright sunshine, a summer just like then. Ha! After college entrance exam, again I came here. The last time I was here, I was not even in high school. Looking back, it was like a dream. Those big eyes and the wide-brimmed straw hat? The girl in the white dress? She came and went, mysteriously and airily as a fairy. I could not follow her to where she lived. She trusted me with her past self, or should I say her future self, just like I did with Tangerine. And then, unaware, I stepped onto the land where everything was different. The bubble in time. The soft soil smelled of fresh rain. Wildflowers created a mixture of rich colors on the green grass. I knew this place. Tangerine? A little girl jumped out from behind the tree. Apparently, she was pleased to have caught me off guard.
兔子先生。
Long time no see, Mr. Rabbit. You just get naughtier every time I see you. I greeted her with a bitter smile. Huh? She tilted her head. The Jasmine of 9 years old sure did not understand. Nothing. The meaning of past and future was not clear to her. But she would know one day. Before that... Look, I'm here. I kept my promise. Brimmed with confidence, I gave her my biggest smile. Come to think about it, I only made that promise to the girl in the future. I was making a fool of
想
myself.
起来了，
Oh, right. Jasmine clapped her hands in
约好了，
recognition.
兔子先生，这次要好好的教我折纸飞机的。
Mr. Rabbit promised to teach me how to make paper planes. Oh! Oh, Mr. Rabbit did teach her to make little planes. Jasmine's only friend. I sure had become a friendly person in the future. By the way, on making paper planes, I did make progress, not a small amount, if I was allowed to say. It was not something to brag about, but I had studied hard thoroughly during my high school years. Various designs of best-looking, farthest-flying, fastest-speed paper planes. I became known as the Grandmaster of Paper Planes among friends. I didn't do this for her, though. Absolutely not. Paper shuffling, Jasmine took out a stack of paper from the house. Enough for next time. I pretended I said nothing.
兔子先生，快看快看，这个是燕子哦。
Mr. Rabbit, look at this. A swallow. Jasmine skipped along and showed me her work of art. Not bad. It deserved my praise. The child was a fast learner. She basically got a grasp of all my research findings of the last 3 years in a single morning. My pride was hurt a bit, to be honest.
那这个样子的话，是不是可以飞得更远啊？
Hey, do you think it could fly faster if I make it like this? Theoretically, yes, I told her. Her eyes were shining with excitement.
能一直飞到天上吗？
Can it reach the sky? That would be a bit tough, I said. The moment I spoke, the look in her eyes saddened.
那样的话，兔子先生，请教我飞得更高更远的飞机吧。
If that is true, Mr. Rabbit, would you like to teach me how to make a better paper plane? I want it to fly higher and further. Interesting. She cheered herself up and made a fist. A new piece of paper was handed to me. Wait a second. I was not willing to admit that I had taught her everything I knew, but at the same time, I also wanted to know the answer. Why do you want it that high?
因为
Because
能把信送到妈妈那里啊。
I want the messages to reach Mother. Eyes sparkling, Jasmine said with
在
great
纸飞
spirit.
机上写信，信就长了翅膀。
If I write letters on the paper planes, it would be like the letters grow wings.
然后就可以飞到妈妈在的天上了，对吧？
And then it can fly through the sky to where Mother lives, right?
那兔子先生，
Am I right, Mr. Rabbit? Okay, so this makes sense. Message on the paper plane. That makes sense. That's part of the name. Little Jasmine looked at me, seeking my approval. Her eyes were full of hope. You're right. I stood up and stroked her hair. Let's make better paper planes. Fight on. In the small private world, we experimented and made various types of paper planes. From drawing paper, pages of books, notebooks, birds of different types were born on the tips of our fingers. Streamlined design, paper birds resembling swallows, and rockets. We let the messages fly, riding on their wings. Eagle Fighter new type, test flight number 22, start.
啊
Fight. Those little whitelings would be lifted by the wind. Every time the paper planes took off, the two of us ran after it and called out to give it strength. We witnessed its journey into the distance, and its crashing into the bushes. And then, after a second of frustration, we would start to make another generation of aircraft, by which I meant a better paper plane. The future as I knew it was not filled with joy and laughter. There would be sorrow and tears. But only had this moment, I wanted her to smile like she did.
新纪录呢？
New record. Haha, yes. We lay down on a pile of paper planes, too exhausted to move a muscle.
那兔子先生，
Hey, Mr. Rabbit. When a touch of gold crept into the sky, Jasmine spoke.
今天很开心。
I'm very happy today. Great for you. At least I didn't let Jasmine of 9 years old. Let down Jasmine of 9 years old, I thought. And yet, she continued to speak. The words seemed too heavy for her
所以
age.
就算是传达不到，也没关系啦。
It's fine. Even if they can't reach the sky.
我知道的哟。
I knew all along. She hugged her legs and huddled up, muttering she looked into the
纸质的
distance.
飞机是飞不到天上的。
Paper planes could never reach the sky after all. She chuckled as if laughing at herself.
所以，阿妈也，大家也，
Mother and everyone else, they are gone. Jasmine paused. She grabbed her own arm, hugging herself tightly, shaking all over without a sound. I was an idiot, a fool. The child's past, what she experienced, I knew it all, didn't I? Why was I simply trying to play with her, treating her like an ordinary child? What a
Huh?
fool. Oh? She seemed to have remembered something and jumped up.
天色不早了呢。
It's getting late. With a smile I knew all too well she had dismissed the sadness. You're right. She stood up, her eyes narrowed to look into the setting sun.
兔子先生也应该要回家了吧？
Mr. Rabbit should go home as well. Jasmine smiled and skipped in front of me. Her eyes were as bright as ever. Wait, it was... You know what? I'm not feeling reluctant at all. I told her she was really something. A great girl.
因为呀，
Of course, because I know it. The glow of the sunset colored her cheeks red, a brilliant
记得
smile.
到时候还会再见面吧？
We will meet again, won't we? She made no effort to hide the hope in her eyes. Of course we will meet again, I promised her, and that was for my future self. And I picked up the paper plane on the ground and looked up. I could hear her inquisitive voice. The message will reach its destination. Holding my head up high, I told her, or rather told myself, as if to strengthen the words, I balled up my hand into a fist. If you want to convey something to someone, they will eventually receive it. The sound of shuffling leaves approached from far. Look. I turned to look at the 9-year-old Jasmine, imprinting her figure into my memory. Your dream will come true. Facing the wind, I let go of the paper plane. For an instant, the gust of wind lifted those wings. Without looking back, the paper plane soared up into the sky. If I could do anything for her now, anything at all. Remember, her figure grew thinner, faded into the golden sunset. Your dream will come true. I did not look back. I knew it. The ground underneath was no longer the grass with colorful wild flowers. It had returned to the ordinary clearing in the woods. But just like each time we said goodbye to each other, her words echoed in my
一
ears.
定会的。
I believe it will. And we got another chapter to her notes? See, guys, the answers are coming. 12-year-old Jasmine, 2007. So 12-year-old, that would be the point where they time travel. I woke up from a dream. Recently I dreamt of the past a lot, or should I say, the future? A breath of wind broke the silence of the space. Wind could enter from there, which meant my bubble had once again met with reality. Right down from the sky up above, the bright sunshine of summer cascaded. Birds started to sing in harmony. Why did I press enter again? The joy, every time I met with reality, he would come, and I was not alone anymore. Last time he had been a college student. This time, high school boy, perhaps? I pictured him to be more childish, less thoughtful and caring, but it did not matter either way. I had practiced making paper planes. This time I was determined to surprise him. Would the he of now be interested in? Oh, and the books of fairy tales we read. I would love to read with him again, yet I was afraid he would treat me like a child. I couldn't make a decision. And I had grown taller, finally. This time I would not make a blunder when we compare height for sure. What's taking him so long? He wasn't as punctual as he would be when he grew up. That was to be expected. Well, since we were bound to see each other again, we could take our time. After all, we had made a promise in the future. The first time we met, I was very little. Having left my father and the rest of the world for not long, I wasn't prepared for anything. I was scared being all by myself, all alone. That was when he appeared before me. Almost the same age as father, he was so tall and had such broad shoulders. Every time I looked at his sunshine smile, I felt like there was nothing to be afraid of. It was taking too long. I almost fell asleep waiting. That's when I decided this time I would go for him. The road was rougher than what it would be in a few years. I avoided the rocks and holes carefully and made it down to the foot of the hill. Guess what? He was taking a nap under a tree. although still madly happy to see him. I just couldn't believe it. He would still remember about our promise, though. But that would be the promise from me 3 years apart from now. As they say, best place to end a story is... End a story ended where it started off. I heard about it. I would become a lot more mature and feminine. I sorta envied myself. Now, despite of everything, I was younger than he was at this point in time. Thank you. Yes, that would be my excuse for being so shy and clumsy and getting buried in a mountain of books. Perfectly excusable. Besides, if we had to start talking about this, how did this troublemaker of a boy grow into such a wonderful gentleman? It was totally beyond me. He even pretended he would tear my book and made a fool of me just because he was so much taller. Oh, and it was me who taught him how to make paper planes. Me. He looked like he didn't care at all about it. Despite all this, he did show up when I was in trouble. Well, the trouble was a bunch of kids who snatched my hat. I reflected on this. All in all, he was who he was. There was no doubt about that. He did not have any memory about the promise of paper plane yet, but just like it had always been, I was relieved to be by his side. I just wished it could last forever, and I said it without giving it much thought. We waved goodbye, and made the promise to see each other tomorrow, the same smile as always. But I know it'd be hard to realize. The contact, it never lasted this long. I was satisfied. But each time I couldn't help thinking, if only I could step out of this reverse current of time, if only I could live under the same sun as everyone else, how wonderful would that be? I had tried, nothing worked. I tried to run further and further away from this motionless garden, or mingle into the crowd, carefully keeping in touch with other people. I even tried to tie myself up to the tree. I had done everything I could to hold back the current of the river and time. But every time when I opened my eyes, I would always find myself in the same old place, back to the silent small world, where everything stood still. Just like what Dad said in his notes. No matter how hard you hold that hand, it would be washed away in the raging torrent called time in the blink of an eye. My heart started twitching. I crouched to hold my knees, burying my face in my arms. In the evening, rain started to fall. It was a rare view for me, yet I had no mood to savor it. It reminded me of what he told me a long time ago. Something bad had happened. On a rainy day, just like now, the little girl named Tangerine, who I had not met yet, disappeared in the rain. Did she slip and fall off the hill? Or did she accidentally go into another time? In any case, I had made a promise with him. Yes, I would protect the child at all cost. When the rain stopped, the feeling of the wind on my skin was growing faint, as was the smell of the humid air. The time was up for me. Sitting on the stairs of the little house, I gazed at the frozen even sky, but there was something I didn't want to give up yet. I wanted to say goodbye to him just one last time. When next time came, I wasn't sure if I would be able to say goodbye with a smile like last time. I stood up. The space was shrinking. Nothing much was left. I looked around desperately. And the figure I knew all too well appeared miraculously. Just like Mr. Rabbit in the fairy tale always showed up when you needed him the most. I was so happy I could cry, but I had chosen to say goodbye with the brightest smile I could put on. That would be best.
我知道呀。
Of course, I know it all. All the memories of the past and all the memories of the promises of the future. You would protect them. The boy standing in front of me would eventually grow into a reliable man. If you ever see me in the
请
future,
向那孩子微笑着打招呼哦。
please smile and say hello for me. That's awesome. My friend said hola right there, and now we're on the last chapter. Alright, back to it. Chapter 3. Chapter 3 we'll have to take it on next time, guys. It's really been a blast. The story is really unraveling. I see why they called this entire section just Decode Story. Because, oh man, let me tell you, this is solving everything. And I am interesting to find all the little bits. But it has to wait till next time. Where this episode's already been a while. So, with that, see y'all peeps. This be Chicken Man out. Bye-bye. So, hello, my peeps. This be Chicken Man here, and today we are playing some more Season of 12 Colors. We're gonna find out more about Jasmine, the girl going backwards in the arc of time, and the mysteries that this game has left to unravel, because this story has been quite interesting as far, and I hope you guys have been enjoying it as much as I. So, shall we continue? Jasmine's diary. I have been writing this diary for some time now, since the second time I met him. Before that, I read a lot of books. I also went through Father's journal and had gotten some idea of what happened in the past. When I understood what I was facing then, it had been really depressing. But I had come to believe that letters with wings could fly into the sky. I tried to cheer myself up, writing messages on pieces of paper. After that, I made them into paper planes, throwing them to the sky, with the hope that someone would eventually read them. That way I'd be less lonely. But the world stood still. It was as small as the clearing around the house. The paper planes could never fly out of it. They always spun around in circles and fell near the edge of the bushes. That was a lie. Paper planes could never deliver my messages. Whenever I thought of it, the pain came alive in my chest. The mere idea of it had been an emotional anchor for me, and it was falling apart. And then, on that day, my paper plane flew past the treetops, crossed the border into the other side of the bushes. I couldn't believe my eyes. Slowly I made my way to the other side. He was there, like promised, at the other side of the garden. Happiness filled me, yet I was angry with him. He had said he would come whenever I needed him, but he left me waiting for so long. All alone, devastated by loneliness. Unbearably afraid all this time. It was like the whole world was on the verge of breaking down. But you were here. You kept the promise. That was all I could ask for, except one thing. A little punishment for keeping me waiting for so long. Prepare to be surprised. Okay, that was a quick chapter. Are we gonna be surprised, Jasmine? The story after that, Tangerine knows it, right? It doesn't matter if you don't. I have written it all down. I was surprised when Tangerine ran to me in the rain. I told you to stay with him always, but here you were. That was the Tangerine I knew best. Yes, she is different from me. She has a simple life. She should live at the right time. She is a cute child with a laugh like sunshine. The first time I met Tangerine, I knew she was different. Mother's embrace had always been warm. Father's encouragement always gave me hope. Mr. Rabbit always showed up when I needed him. Tangerine would surely do something important, sometime, somewhere. I would love to see it with my own eyes, to witness Tangerine realizing her dreams. But the future seemed grim to me. I had sensed my own condition ever since Mother passed away. Since we had different time from the rest of the world, it would be a great burden for us to step into the ordinary land. The inconceivable pain she must have suffered just to give birth to someone like me. The moment I stepped into the outside world, I had immediately learned in the hardest way imaginable. Limbs were as heavy as bags of sand, vision fogged up, became blurry, even breathing felt like inhaling mud. All this time, just to keep in touch with the outside world, was like an unwritten prohibition for us. But I could do anything, if only I could be together with Tangerine and him. We had the best time ever. Yes, I just wanted to treasure it as much as I could. Because of the rain, I hadn't expected you to come. That way you and your brother would be alright. That would be the best for me as well. But when I saw Tangerine with your little orange-colored umbrella, when you slipped, I couldn't help but reach out. When we touched each other, the bubble had divided Tangerine's time from the rest of the world. My time had combined with hers and tangled inextricably. That was the moment when my time in my past and the fate to ride against the current of time was bound to be handed over to Tangerine. I cried and apologized. There was nothing I could do but to take it back. Having fallen into my time, Tangerine could never go back. I was really sorry. I was really sorry. That was the reason why, in the end, I threw away all the paper planes made from the pages that recorded all of this. I wish my past could be thrown away as well. I wish Tangerine could live freely and forget about all this. In the end, I just didn't want Tangerine to be like me or Mother, the lonesome travelers of time. But nobody had ever found a way to reverse the river of time. So after I disappeared, Tangerine would be all by herself, flowing to the past in an eternity. But Tangerine, I always thought if it had been you, who had seen everything, had known all the attempts and hard work done by people like us, who had something unique, something special to call her own. Tangerine, if you ever have a chance to read this, please. Time of Tangerine and Jasmine. It too took me a long time to finish Jasmine's letter. It was so hard to identify with the paper planes all over the place. But I had learned a lot of things. Stories of the future that had happened already. Stories of the past waiting to happen. And stories of the travelers floating in the current of time. Oh, don't tell me. Is Jasmine's mother Tangerine? When Jasmine was little, living alone in this world, how did she feel? Was she afraid? Did she feel lonely? Did the pain gnaw away at her heart? Was she overwhelmed by desperation? Despite all this, there had never been one word of gloom. The softness of a breeze and the warmth of sunshine filled the pages. It was like her smile. For Jasmine, or her mother, or their countless ancestors, they must have lived to treasure each moment and learn to smile from the bottom of their hearts. I believed it with all my heart. Therefore, I just what? When I had the chance to see the sky and the sun again, I had grown a little bigger. My hair was also longer. I imitated Jasmine, put it in the bag, and put her straw hat on. For me, it became a source of encouragement coming from her. I braced myself and stepped into the world outside. And then I did see it. My big brother and myself, both very little. I had an urge to walk up and say hello to them. Just like Jasmine, I wanted to ask them to be good to each other. But in the end, I just couldn't do it. Was it because of shyness? Could it be something else? When we brushed past each other as though we were entirely different people, that was it. I decided to take on the time Jasmine had left. I decided to smile my most honest smile and live on. Then the wind raised. Chapter 8? The next time I met Jasmine, she was only 6 years old. Alone and huddled in the corner of the house, her sad face was covered with tear stains. Who are you? Sobbing, her eyes were red and swollen. That was the first time she saw me and the last time I saw her. It took a long time for me to stop her crying. Would you come out with me? It's better outside, isn't it? When I looked back, Jasmine was hiding behind the door and stealing glances over in my direction. It's alright. I crouched and reached out to her. There is blue sky out here, and grandfather's sun, green grass and colorful flowers. You said you wanted to listen to stories. All right, I will read stories to you. The thick book of fairy tales, dust on the cover, I knew it all too well. Let's see, what about the story of Miss Duck, or Aunt Goose and the little geese? Eyes shining with curiosity, Jasmine was moving out a little. Huh. I recommend the story of Mr. Rabbit. What do you think? I turned the pages. Once upon a time, there was Mr. Rabbit. As expected, when listening to the story, she was beginning to let her guard down. He was. In the middle of the story, suddenly a gust of wind came. Wah! In our exclamation, the old book fell apart at the seams. Pages were sent flying like butterflies. What's up with the wind? I don't know. Look, catch that page. Alright. Wait, the cover. We fought with the unwanted wind to rescue the book. In the end, we had collection most of the pages, but there was still some hanging on high branches. Heck, I didn't remember coming here to make a fool of myself. Jasmine walked to me and settled a stack of paper beside me. Wonderful, thank you. If Jasmine hadn't helped to catch some of the pages in time, they would have been lost as well. I muttered and put the pages back in order, keeping them in place with threads. You're welcome. Blushing a bit, the little girl sat beside me. It's so good to have you here. It sounded like a confession of love, yet she was still a small child. Huh? Jasmine widened her eyes in surprise. Oops, sorry, that was a little bit of an exaggeration. I was not good at this, at any point in time. But, I know about Jasmine. When I talked with the girl about your parents, what happened in the past, and the future, I felt like I could tell her everything honestly. That's why I came here to see you. That was the only thing important to me. All I want is for you to be able to smile from your heart at all times. That was it. Her eyes widened. She looked as if she couldn't believe it. Yet after a moment... Sure. She gave me the first loveliest smile. The story of Mr. Rabbit? The book was broken and I couldn't read it. I had to make up the rest. Mr. Rabbit was helped by someone very, very kind. That was why he decided to help more people. When Mr. Rabbit met a girl crying and alone, he wiped away her tears. When Mr. Rabbit met a child who missed her mother, he helped her to deliver her message. When Mr. Rabbit met a child who was bullied, he had helped her to drive the bad kids away. And then I kept on telling her stories. The story of Mr. Rabbit, the story of Mr. Rabbit and the strong kid, the story of Mr. Rabbit and the sweet, lovely sisters. Our story. We would meet each other, again and again. We would laugh and cry. There would be setbacks and obstacles, but we would help each other, going our different ways. And then again, we would always reunite. How much could she understand? I realized only at this moment I wanted to tell her everything I knew. I wanted her to keep everything in her heart. The past and the future, the two of us. And then the time of departure had come. It was the first time for her, and the last time for me. Jasmine was about to cry. She held onto my sleeves and wouldn't let go. It will be fine. Gently I stroked her soft hair. We will meet again, many, many times. I smiled to fight the sorrow, to keep the last memory. Just remember our secret code, paper plane. I put one onto the palm of her hands, white wings with messages on them. If you write a letter on it, it will find the way to your loved ones. The time would come for us. I want to see your happy smile. And the world blurred. On the other side, there was her. Yes, the face of the 6-year-old Jasmine. It's a promise. She left me with the most brilliant smile I had ever seen. And then the wind raised. A white paper plane streaked across the evening sky, like in our first memory. Guys, we're at the end. There's only one piece left. So much further than I thought it was. We're at the conclusion. So, the thing is, the conclusion will have to be for next time. So, make sure to be there, and with that, see y'all peeps. This be Chicken Man out. Bye-bye. So, like, hey y'all my peeps, this be Chicken Man here, and are you guys ready to finish this story? I was not expecting anything of this, and it's surprised me. It's given me questions. It's given me answers. It's given me a really good time. A story that I haven't seen much of. I haven't seen time travel done in this kind of way. And I wouldn't have expected it when I decided to start this story about 3 hours ago now. And I don't know if you guys would expect it, but it's a journey, and this journey is coming to an end right now, right here. So let's begin, shall we?
哥哥哥哥，等我。
Wait a while. The sun is setting. Do you want to be scolded? The children ran hand in hand on the country road. Tenderly, the scarlet afterglow enveloped everything in its warm embrace. And at the end of the road, there was the figure of a girl. She had long hair and a wide-brimmed straw hat. They brushed past, that was all. With a smile, she looked at the children running away into the distance. The girl left, and the wind raised. The wind raised. The white straw hat flew in the wind. The white paper plane slid across the sky. The boy and the girl all raised their heads at the same time. It was like the familiar sunset and the familiar memories. Footsteps, tottering, the little girl ran to her.
姐姐，
Your hat.
你的
The voice of a child, the straw hat in her hand. In an instant, what was before her coincided with her childhood memory. Huh, take over the hat. I don't know, but look at that cute little smile, though. Just looks so nice, you know? Take over the hat. Oh, it's like this. That's a familiar person I've seen before. It's the way I look when the present me grow up. I said thank you with a smile, taking my hat. Then to the child running away saying you're welcome, I waved goodbye. Waving goodbye to my past and future, the only greeting and farewell there will ever be. Then, the bubble closed. Goodbye to myself in the past. Goodbye, my brother. The boy and the girl turned as if they heard something. Sliding across the sky was a paper plane of the purest white, and the quiet sunshine a light shade of red seeped through. Normal ending. Something's up with that smile, I know that. A new chapter is added to the Decode story. Oh no! We got a new chapter, but I forgot to save it. Okay, so if I click new game, fragment, time of Tangerine and Jasmine. When I was wandering around, I found pieces of paper lying in the grass. It was nothing special, really, if you think about it. There were paper planes all over the place to begin with. However, the only thing I could be sure of was that it was Jasmine's handwriting. I didn't know why, but I gathered up all the pieces in the grass, trying very hard to understand what she wrote. There was no way I could do it. I always gave up and sprawled out on the grass. I was not good at puzzles, and many of the pieces were lost. Perhaps I should just forget about it. Jasmine's face appeared before me. I started to think about all the things she wanted to tell me, but she wanted me to know. I got up immediately. I had to try harder and harder. There was enough time anyways. If the day came when Tangerine read this, if Tangerine still decided with her own free will to go against the time, to walk the hardest walk, please, would you please? I want to stop writing right here, but even with this dilemma in my head, I can't give up on this mere flash of hope. I have to keep on writing. Yes, this is what I want. I have to ask Tangerine to do something for me. Please. Save everyone from this endless loop. Up until now, everyone burdened with this kind of time was born in the bubble. Among all the attempts we have done, the only thing we couldn't achieve was blank, blank, blank. At the moment of the blank, blanks and blank, blank, and blank, will there be magic happening? If blank and blank collide, will the sealed bubble blank? If so, will blank regular time blank with the outside blank and blank? In the end, I couldn't understand it all. I was trusted to do something very important. Despite this, I still had no idea what it was all about. I was at a loss about what I could do and how I should do it. Distressed, I racked my brain for ideas. And eventually fell asleep with paper plane letters all around me. In my dream, I had a feeling that I could not meet again with my father, mother, brother, and Jasmine. They seemed to be talking about something. My heart was filled with guilt and shame when I wrote these words. Of course, I didn't want Tangerine to risk herself to do these kinds of attempts. If blank and blank collide, what would happen? Will it be released from the reverse time, or... I picked up the letter, trying to get rid of the unpleasant thought. I tore up the letter piece by piece. After all, I shouldn't let Tangerine lead this letter. Yes, that's it. As long as Tangerine can live her life safe and sound, in the future... What else is left? What else is left? I know there's something. And I believe it's in this ending. Or at least I did some research and it said something about the smile. Something about ending smile. And that was all the spoiler that I wanted to do, so that...
姐姐，你的
If the day came when Tangerine read this, please, would you please, among all the attempts we have done, the only thing we couldn't achieve is to meet with the past self. At the moment that the past self and the future self meet, would there be magic happening? If the reverse river and the regular river collide, would the sealed bubble burst? If so, could we return to the regular time and live with the outside people? As long as Tangerine can live her life safe and sound, in the future, someday in the future. The instant the fingertips of the past and the future self touched, the bubble bursted. After a long journey, the traveler on the Arc of Time had finally come back to where the journey started. The wind had risen. A white paper plane slid across the boundless sky. The loved one stood there. Before I was aware, I already started running. Brother, I haven't seen you in such a long time. I have so many things to tell you. Things about you, things about Jasmine, things about Tangerine, and the time we had together, the memories that would never, ever fade carved in time. And it had been written, all of the memories kept in one place and handed over to us. The message on the paper plane. The end. Tell me, down below in them comments. Oh, what you thought about this little story that I played through in a good afternoon. what your thoughts are on it. Like, all those little things. Like, it really has been a journey. It took us about 4 years to complete this small project, and we enjoy the polishing process very much. Oh. This is awesome. In post, I will give you the, devs. To our team, good job. To our players, have a nice time. Oh, I had a great time. So, I want to give a clap to the devs. As you guys said, you spent 4 hard years working on this, and what a piece it was. What a piece it was, guys. You had me captivated. I need some rest. Indeed you do, L&P. Oliver, it is amazing designing the background images for the story. This game feels like a breeze. Please try it. Oh. Oh. The end. That was something else. I didn't know it at the beginning. I didn't know what I was getting into. I was confused. I didn't know if it was going to be something bad, if everything was going to be meshed up, because I know that there are stories that did that before. And then it turned out complicated. It had me gripped. And then it used time travel in a way that not many uses of time travel used it. Like, most just use it as a plot device, but that was the plot, and the Decode story, like, piecing all the facts together, but still just slowly answering all the questions that the base story gave. Oh. Great. This has been probably my favorite VN. And that isn't even a lie. I mean, I haven't done too many VNs before, but wow. So, if you guys enjoyed it, make sure to, as I said before, comment. Tell me what you think, what your guys' opinions are. Did you watch this series the whole way through, every episode? And if so, pat yourself on the backs, because you guys are the MVPs for experiencing this story. And anyways, an experience it has been. So, without further ado, see y'all peeps. This be Chicken Man out. To another story we go.